Hey everyone, Spookyman Ben. Hope everyone's doing well and having a nice Sunday. This is a video for ArkhamKnight84, who requested about 3 weeks ago that I do a breakdown of all 12 Friday the 13th films and give them my rating in terms of which ones are, my favorites. Just sort of giving them a breakdown in terms of one being the lowest, 10 being the greatest on my usual rating system. Now, I did do a Friday the 13th retrospective, I'm going to say back in the fall of 2011, but I didn't give them ratings. I think it was because I was still kind of experimenting with how I do my movie reviews, and I kind of was just going through the series and saying which ones I liked and why I liked them and things like that. But this will be strictly, saying why I've given it the rating I've given it, and pretty much going from there. But I hope that everyone enjoys this. And before I get started, I want to apologize for a lot of the comments that people have left me on my videos. I'm usually really good about returning comments and giving feedback and things like that. I will be doing that possibly at the latest tomorrow evening, getting in terms of responding to everybody that has left me feedback and everything. So just like I wanted to say, I'm sorry about being taking so long and getting back to people on those things, and I hope everyone enjoys this. ArkhamKnight84, this is for you, and I hope everyone enjoys this video, so stay tuned. Okay, to start this off, we have to, of course, begin with the original Friday the 13th Part 1. Now, giving these it's tough because this is my favorite horror film series of all time, so to give these movies actual ratings was tough. Just wanted to let you know. But if I had to give these a fair ratings, I would give the original Friday the 13th an 8 out of 10. The reason for that is it's never been my favorite film in the series. I love what it represents, that, this series getting started. The film is pretty much a knockoff of Halloween. I mean, even though I still love the film very much, it's Halloween in a campground setting, just with, an unknown killer, the Mrs. Voorhees character. Like I said, sorry if I'm spoiling things for people who haven't seen it. I'll put spoilers in the title and everything, but I mean, that's my interest in the Friday the 13th movies is Jason. Jason is a gimmick at the end of this movie. He's a chair jumper. That's what it was set up as, and I think Eric Lehman did a great job as Jason. I love Betsy Palmer in the movie. I love Adrienne King in the movie. I love everything about the movie. But if I have to be fair, it's not the first one I grab when I want to watch a Friday the 13th film. So on that regard, I have to give it a fair grading, and my grading for this is 8 out of 10. Still love the film, still think it's a great film. It's very scary still. I still think it retains that atmosphere, but if I have to be fair, it's going to have to be 8 out of 10. Okay, moving on to Part 2. No, I think Part 2 is better than Part 1, and not so much the gore, which was horribly, the filmmakers were forced to edit it because of the MPAA going nuts that they got away with so much on Part 1. So that's the only kind of I guess you say the mark against Part 2 is that the gore is really cut down. But I love Amy Steele. Jenny, I think even though I love Alice in the first film, I think Jenny is just a better character. And I think she was just, and I've met Amy Steele, she's tremendous, just an amazing person to meet, and I just love her in this film. I also love Steve Dash, who played Jason in this one, not Warrington Gillette, who played him. I know he played him in a couple scenes and at the end, but Steve Dash is the one that played Jason in this film. I think he did a great job, and I thought the bag head and everything was very creepy. He did that very well, making this the first movie where Jason is the primary adversary. I just thought it was just a very scary film. I, again, still think this retains its scares. It's really still a creepy film to watch. If I have to give a fair rating to this one, I give it a 9 out of 10. Yes, it's higher than the original, but I love this film. It's one that I watch so many times. I love all the characters in it. Just a real fun film. I think there's some tremendous... it's better shot. I think that the director, Steve Miner, did a great job directing this. And like I said, I like the characters in this one, and I love Steve Dash's Jason. I just think it's a scarier movie. So, love this film. Part 3. Love Part 3. Not so I mean, it's probably in terms of story, it's a little bit weaker, on the weaker side compared to the first two, but Richard Brooker as Jason just brought it, and this is like the first film where I took notice of Jason because he had the hockey mask. He was, there was something iconic already about him just the first time you see him in that mask. I also really love the character of Shelley, there's nothing bad you can say about Larry Zerner as Shelley in this film. I just love him in this film, and I'm not a big fan of Dana Kamel, who played the main character Chris in this. She's kind of a little bit whiny, but still just a great film. She's probably my least favorite heroine of the Friday the 13th series. I think just because, I don't know, there was just something about her I just wasn't crazy about. But everybody else in this film, from like I said, Shelley, Andy was cool, Vicky, there was Chuck, and I think her name was Chili. I think was her name, or they were the Stoners. So they were really fun in this film. And like I said, and the bikers, I liked all of them. But yeah, I love Friday the 13th Part 3. This one gets a 10 out of 10 for me. I love this film. It was the first Friday the 13th film I remember watching on more than one occasion, just because I said Richard Brooker just brought it in this film. And I still love the 3D effects, even though, they are kind of like just in your face. But yeah, just a lot of fun with this film. Really love this film. Now we move on to Friday the 13th Final Chapter. One of the best Friday the 13th films ever made, and I know this is a lot of people's favorites. Ted White is truly the creepiest. That's my personal opinion, but I really think that Ted White just plays him so creepy in this. He is just a brute force in this. There's nothing about him other than him just being creepy in this film. I mean, it's one of the truly, I think, the scariest Jason performances ever made. And I'm glad that Ted White has embraced that he played this role now, because for decades he just completely wrote this film off. But he truly gives an award-winning performance on the horror side, I think. I also loved Corey Feldman in this as Tommy Jarvis. He did a great job in this film. I love his, I think her name was Kimberly Beck, who played Trish. Loved her in this film. Also love Crispin Glover as Ted, and Crispin Glover as Jimmy. And then you also had some other great character actors in this. I mean, it's really a scary film still. Another one that is still scary to this day. This is a 10 out of 10 easily. One of my favorite Friday the 13th films of all time. Probably my second favorite in the series. Just love this film, 100%. Okay, now we are on to one that many consider one of the worst films in the series. That would be Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. I completely disagree. Excuse me. I completely disagree with people saying that about this film. I love this film. I remember seeing this. This was actually the first Friday the 13th I ever saw in the film, in the theaters. I was, let's see, how old was I? I was almost 11 years old when this came out. And I actually saw it twice in the theater. My mom actually took me to see it twice with my friend Tori and his mom, Louise. But yeah, I think this movie gets shit on a lot, and I understand why people don't like it. It doesn't have Jason in it. It's an imposter. Like I said, I'll put spoiler in the title for this for people who haven't seen it. But yeah, Jason is not in this film. Or not the original Jason. There's someone that looks like Jason, but it's not him. But I think that you cannot discount the performances that are in this film. You have Melanie Kinnaman, who I think is great in this film. I think she's great as the main heroine in this film. You also have John Shepherd, who plays an older version of Tommy from Part 4. Just tremendous actor, and I wish he would have continued in that role, but unfortunately he didn't. You also have the character of Reggie the Reckless, who I love in this film. The actor's name is escaping me for a second now. You also have the beautiful Debbie Sue Voorhees as Tina, who I fell in love with as a kid, and still I'm friends with her on Facebook. She's a tremendous lady, just awesome. And then there's some great kills in this. This is a gory movie, and there are some great kills in this film. And I think that Danny Steinman did a great job directing this film. I have always liked this film. Yes, it's disappointing that Jason's not in it, that it is an imposter Jason, but I've always loved this film, loved the gore, loved the performances. I have nothing bad to really say about this. If I had to give it a rating, I would give it an 8 out of 10. Yeah, it's got a little bit of a mark against it for not having Jason in it, but at least they tried to do something different. Kind of go back to the mystery of Part 1 and do something a little bit different. But, for some it worked, for some it didn't, but I've always been a fan of this film. Now, my absolutely favorite Jason film is Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. Yes, there's not a lot of gore in this film, there's no nudity in this film, but this film is fun. There is so much fun to be had in this film, and Tom McLaughlin really gives this a fun, gothic kind of feel to this. I mean, with Jason coming back from the dead at the beginning, which is a tremendous opening, to the James Bond kind of opening where he walks in front of the eyeball and slices it. And I mean, there's just some great little touches in this film, and I've always loved this film. This film is what made me a fan of. I love the Friday the 13th films, but this film really just made me a tremendous fan, because this was the movie where Jason became the coolest horror villain ever. And I still hold this film up as the best Friday the 13th film, and I don't feel there's ever going to be any film that comes out that's going to touch it, and that's just my personal opinion. I love all the characters in this. Like I said, I wish that John Shepherd would have continued as the Tommy character, but Tom Matthews does a great job in this. And C.J. Graham will always be my favorite Jason. I've met the actor twice. He's just an awesome guy. I've had him sign several pieces of like pictures, and he signed one of the bases for one of my Jason figures, and he's been so nice to me and my wife. Just an awesome guy. Have nothing but great things to say about this film. And also Tom Felton as Cord. I always loved him, and I met him, and just another awesome guy. Just, yeah, love this film. And if I had to give this one a rating, and everybody might hold this against me, but this is my rating system, I'll give this an 11 out of 10. 11 because it is one of the best movies in my collection. If I had to watch one of these films for the rest of my life, it would be this one. Love this film 100%. Friday the 13th Part 6. Okay. Now we move on to Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood. This would usher in the Kane Hodder era, which would stay with us for 4 films. For the first time I saw this film, I was a little bit disappointed in it. I remember seeing it when I think it came out when I was 14, so I was just in junior high, and I was, because of Fangoria, I knew who would play Jason in Part 6, and I had hoped that C.J. Graham would carry on the role in this film. When I found out that Kane Hodder would be playing the role, I was a little disappointed, not knowing just how tremendous Kane Hodder is as an actor and a performer. I love the guy, just a huge fan of Kane Hodder, and I really think, as much as I love CJ and I love Part 6, there's no breaking that, but I do think Kane Hodder is the reason that Jason's popularity continued and is what it is today. Kane embodied Jason and just did a tremendous job in this film. And over the years, and when I found out all of the problems that John Buechler and Kane Hodder went through making this film, I have so much more respect for what this film represents and what went into it. I mean, they had so many problems with the associate producer. They had so many things that were cut because of the MPAA. There was so many different types of gore that was in this that they couldn't get away with, and it's a shame that most of that footage is no longer available, or it's like rough cut, and I've seen it on the special edition DVDs and things like that, but it would be nice if they could put it back into the finished film. But if I had to give this one a rating, I would give it a 9 out of 10. I do really love this film. I think there's some tremendous Jason scenes in this. I still love the scene where Jason has the tree trimmer and he's going after, or the tree saw where he's going after Dr. Cruz. One of my favorite Jason scenes ever in any of the movies. Just love that scene. Also love the unmasking and the fighting with Tina. Just she did a great job too. Laura Park Lincoln, love her in this film. So yeah, I love this film. So much respect for the filmmakers, and yeah, this one has grown on me over the years, but I really enjoy it and really love this film. Now, the other film that people seem to hate in the series is Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. I have always loved this film, and I don't know why it gets the hate that it does. I actually thought it was kind of interesting to take him into a big city and see what he could do. I mean, unfortunately, they didn't have the budget to shoot in New York. They had to shoot a lot of it in Vancouver and alleyways and things like that. They were only able to shoot in New York for a week, I believe. Did some shots in the harbor. They also did shots in Times Square. And I know Kane Hodder said that it was like he felt like one of the Beatles because, so many people were just screaming for Jason and everything like that. And I also remember when this film came out, he went on the Arsenio Hall show dressed as Jason, which was one of the coolest things ever. And I wish I still had my videotape where I recorded that. But yeah, I love this film, and I think it gets a lot of crap. Yes, I wish it was in New York more, but I still like the build-up of getting to New York and everything. I've always had fun with this film, and it's one that, it's campy and corny sometimes, but I love it for what it is. If I had to give it a rating, I'd give it a 9 out of 10. Still really love Jason Takes Manhattan. Okay. My least favorite Friday the 13th film is Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday. I have such a hard time with this film. Number one, Jason is destroyed at the beginning of the film. He's blown up. Through the entire movie, he's body hopping, like The Hidden. I didn't like that. I just didn't. I know it's different, and people are like, "Oh, we want it to be different." I never wanted it to be different. I mean, Jason Takes Manhattan was different, but it still had Jason in it. This movie does not have Jason in it. Jason is in the film at the very beginning and at the very end. I just thought it was a wasted opportunity. You had a tremendous actor like Kane Hodder, and he is in the beginning of the film and at the end of the film. What a waste. I do like John D. LeMay in this film as Steven. Been a fan of his for a long time, since going back to Friday the 13th, the TV series, as Ryan Dallion. Loved him in that show, and one of these days I will do a video about that series because I really want to talk about it. But he is the reason why I have bumped this film up a little bit, because I think he's great in the film, but the rest of this film is just crap. There is some great gore, especially in the uncut version. The gore is great, but it's not Jason. It's people that are all possessed and weird looking that are killing people. It's not a Friday the 13th film, in my opinion. I still like it. I still own it. I will watch it from time to time if I just feel like checking it out again. But I still have the same problems with it that when I saw it in 1993 when it was released. This gets a 4 out of 10 for me. I just cannot give it a higher score than that. Like I said, John D. LeMay and Kane Hodder, and the fight at the end with them is great. But other than that, even Stephen Williams irritates me in this film as Creighton Duke. I just really did not like very much about this film. Erin Gray also is in this film, and she's good in this film. She's not in it enough, in my opinion, but everybody else is just terrible in this film. And like I said, I just can't give it a higher rating than that. Very big disappointment for me. Next, we have one that people really hate, and that is Jason X, or Friday the 13th Part 10. I think this film is fun. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's horrible. I think Todd Farmer and Jim Isaacs, who directed the film, had a tremendous battle to get this film out because it was shot in 2000. It didn't come out until 2002. The look of the film is great. There's some great kills in it. Jason is back in this film. He's actually, again, it was Kane Hodder's swan song, unfortunately, as the character. But there's some great gore moments in it. I love the Uber Jason look. I wish they could have done more with him as Uber Jason, but I loved that look and thought it was really refreshing and unique, and I thought there was some fun stuff in this film, but still, it's just not my favorite of the Friday the 13th films. I do really enjoy it, and I watch it time to time. It's a big improvement over Part 9, but just doesn't compare to some of the earlier films for me. But I would give this one a Jason X is a lot of fun, especially for the part in the film where they do a virtual Camp Crystal Lake from 1980. That scene alone is just priceless. But yeah, a lot of fun. Not my favorite, but still a lot of fun. The next film will be Freddy vs. Jason. Now, this film would take several decades to come out. They actually started talking about doing this film, I'm going to say, in 1989. In fact, Rob Hedden, who directed Part 8, said that initially he wanted to do that, but at the time, New Line owned Freddy, which still owns Freddy, and then Paramount owned Jason, so they couldn't come to terms on that one. But once Paramount let the rights to Jason, the character, go, and New Line snatched him up, then in Part 9, the movie I cannot stand, they actually set up Freddy vs. Jason, but it would take 10 years for this film to come out. And there are some people that have issues with this film. I don't. I love this film 100%. It's so much fun, and again, it's just one of those films that I could put on at any time and enjoy watching, and just to see these guys fight in both the dream world and the real world was just so amazing. Yes, the acting in it is kind of There's not really anybody in the film that's truly great, but it's still a fun film to watch. I'm so glad Robert Englund came back to play Freddy. This was actually the last time he would play Freddy. The one blemish against this movie is the fact that the filmmakers did not bring back Kane Hodder to play Jason. Kane Hodder is the reason why I think this movie even got made. He played the character 4 years over almost a 12-year period where no one was talking about Friday the 13th, but he was still campaigning the character, going to conventions and things like that, and it was such a slap in the face to him and the type of person he is that he was not able to play him in this film. Now, I think Ken Kirsinger did a fine job playing Jason, but when I watch this film, I try in my head to pretend that it's Kane actually playing the character, because Kane should have played Jason in this film, and that's the one thing against this film that I have. Because of that, I can't give it a full, solid 10 because I really wanted Kane to play the character, but I love the film 100%, so I'll give it a 9.7 out of 10. Still a great film. Everything except for what happened to Kane makes this film is just amazing, And I do think, Ronnie, you did a great job of directing this film. I love this film 100%. The only thing is just it's sad that Kane couldn't be in the film. So yeah, 9.7 out of 10 for Freddy vs. Jason. Love this film. Now we are on to the Reboot from 2009. I have said in many videos, I don't understand the backlash that this film got. I actually really love this film, and I think Derek Mears is a tremendous actor, and he does a great job playing Jason in this film. I've met the guy, awesome guy. Really enjoyed meeting him. He really loves the character, and you can see that in the way that he performs in this film, in my opinion. And I think he does a tremendous job of picking up the machete and the hockey mask from Kane and carrying on the legacy. And I'm so hopeful that in the second movie, which hopefully we'll hear about one day in the sequel to this, that he will play him again. I love all the characters in this film. I don't understand the backlash this film gets. One of the big problems I think people have is the fact that Jason kidnaps one of the characters at the beginning and holds her captive because she looked like his mother. And then, but I think back to Friday the 13th Part 2, where Jenny pretended to be Jason's mother and fooled him. And I don't know, it's like I saw so many homages to the original film in this, the original film, at least the original 4 films in this, that I don't understand really the backlash this film gets. I love this film 100%, loved it when I saw it in the theater. I own several copies of it on DVD and Blu-ray. And really, like I said, I don't understand why people don't like this film more. This movie gets a solid 10 out of 10 for me. I love this film. It's my favorite remake ever made. I don't really consider it a remake. It really just takes the Jason story into a different direction, takes the elements and makes them different. And I think that's what works so well about this. So I hope, ArkhamKnight84, I hope this is what you wanted from me. Give me your feedback and let me know what you think about my ratings for these films. And again, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to watch this. I know it was long. I hope I got through it as fast as I could, but we're talking about 12 films, and I wanted to give a little bit of a take on why I gave them the ratings I did. So just wanted to say thank you to everyone that's watching, and stay tuned for my answers to the questions that everyone sent me, and that should be coming probably tomorrow. So hope everyone has a nice rest of their day, and take care.